finding in the mystery. In your shadow, my faith will stand, and I will call upon your name, and dip my eyes above the waves. In the ocean's rise, my soul will rest in your place. For I am yours, you are mine. Oh, your grace abound in deepest waters. Your sovereign hand will be my guide. My faith, it feels surrounds me. You never fail, it won't start now. So I will call upon your name, and dip my eyes above the waves. With oceans rise, my soul will rest in your place. For I am yours, you are mine. You are Spirit, lead me where my trust without the borders. Let me walk upon the waters, wherever world you call me. Take me deeper than my feet, take out with wonder. Let me faith will be me stronger. The presence of my Savior. Spirit, lead me where my trust without the borders. Let me walk upon the waters, wherever world they call me. Take me deeper with my feet, take on the wonder, and my faith will be me stronger. The presence of my Savior. So I will call upon your name, and keep my eyes above the waves. The oceans rise, my soul will rest in your place. For I am yours, and you are mine. Oh, you are mine.
One final breath he gave as heaven looked away. The Son of God was laid in darkness. A battle in the grave, the war on death was waged. The power of hell forever broken. The ground began to shake, the stars roll away. His perfect love could not be overcome. Now death, where is your sting? Our resurrected King has rendered your defeat. Forever he is glorified. Forever he is lifted We sing hallelujah. We sing hallelujah. We sing hallelujah. The Lamb has overcome. We sing hallelujah. We sing hallelujah. We sing hallelujah. The Lamb has overcome. Forever He is glorified. Forever He is lifted high. Forever He is risen. He is alive. He is alive.
I would like to begin today by talking about something encouraging. The elephant in every room that there is in this life. The one thing that will at some point happen to each of us. I'd like to talk about death. Yes, death. No, not everyone is born, but guess what? Everyone who is born dies. Aren't you glad you're watching this today? As I typed this, I was in the middle of the Allegheny forest a bit north of here. The leaves were just starting to turn in every direction as far as the eye could see, trees on the very edge of Technicolor. Now, in a week or two, it will be one of the most beautiful times of the year in that part of the state. Blazing oranges, fluorescent yellows, and fiery reds popping under the contrast of the blue sky. We'll take out our phones and snap pictures, post them to our social media accounts, and wow our followers with this rare beauty. And we must. Why? Because it doesn't last long. But have you ever thought any deeper than that about autumn and why it's so beautiful? Does it ever occur to us what we're snapping photos of? Life weakening before our very eyes. Life in critical condition. Death everywhere. The beauty is really because of the death. There are plenty of examples in each of the Gospels where it's clear that Jesus, at least after his baptism in the Jordan, is keenly aware of what's coming in his life. He knows that his time is short. He's going to be betrayed, captured, tortured, and then finally put to death. He even tells his disciples this, and at first, none of them believe him. But he knows. He's sure of it as he is sure of anything else. Think about what that means for a second. Every sermon that Jesus delivers, every person he heals, turning water into wine, the feeding of the 5,000, walking on water, raising Lazarus from the dead, all of these and many more impossible things were all done by a man who was keenly aware that his death was approaching, and very soon. Try to put yourself in the mind, in the shoes of Christ for a second. Jesus wasn't traveling around doing the things that he did and teaching the things that he taught with thoughts in his mind of retiring on the coast, wearing shorts, Crocs, and a Hawaiian t-shirt. He knew he wouldn't be around that long. He knew that he was a dead man walking. I'm supposed to be talking about making a shift today for you wherever you are in your life. And the shift that I would like to challenge you to make is to make a shift in your estimation of yourself. You are going to die. I am going to die. You are temporary. I am temporary. And if we really believed that and lived and worked expecting that, how would it change our life and our work? Because guess what? This is what the Son of God believed about himself. And it shaped everything that he did. I am 45 years old. I've been in ministry for over 20 years, and as the years go by, I find myself thinking about this more and more. I didn't think about it at all in my 20s. I was invincible back then. And in my 30s, I thought about it every now and then, but it certainly didn't dominate my thinking. I was too busy trying to find an edge to make a mark and make a name for myself in the world. Coincidentally, it was in this phase of life where I also started losing all of my hair. But now in my 40s, I'm looking back and seeing how unrealistic and unsustainable all of that kind of thinking was. Now I know that I'm no longer invincible. My body doesn't repair itself like it used to. When I was young and something stopped working, it would come back eventually. Now it doesn't. It just goes away forever. I don't leap out of bed in the morning anymore. I flip my legs off the side of the bed and I sit there groaning and rubbing my lower back for a few minutes. I am going to die. I am temporary. Our passage for today is a segment of a story commonly known as the woman at the well. Jesus is traveling, he gets tired and thirsty, and he stops at Jacob's well. And there he meets a Samaritan woman, and they strike up a conversation. Here's the thing, though. If you read the story from beginning to end in its entirety, Jesus never tells this woman his name. We assume that, we read that into the text, but it's never been there and it's still not there now in this story. Jesus arrives, he and the woman have a conversation. He tells her things that it would be impossible for him to know about her life. He talks with her about God. He even tells her that he is the Messiah, but he never tells her his name. And then Jesus moves on to his next destination, and the woman is so startled that she forgets about her water jar, runs back to her village, and begins telling everyone, "Come and see a man who told me everything I ever did. Could he possibly be the Messiah?" What's my point? My point is that this sounds exactly like the traces a dead man would leave of himself. Shouldn't he have at least given her his name? After all, how will he build his brand? How will he ensure that people's Google searches will bring up his website as the top hit in the list? But Jesus isn't trying to do that. Dying people don't care about any of those things. This is also why, in so many of the gospel stories, Jesus would heal someone and then he would say, "Hey, listen, I know it was really amazing what just happened to you. You were sick and I prayed for you and now you're all better. But could I ask you to do me a favor after I head out? Could you not tell anyone about who I am?" This is so strange. This is even, at least to those of us living today, wholly antithetical to how we are taught to live and work and be. And yet, this is precisely how we see Jesus conducting himself in the stories about his life. Are you? Church leaders, pastors, teachers, how would your church begin to function if you were all of a sudden gone? Would it collapse? If so, I don't say this combatively, but humbly. If so, your church is too much about you being alive and being present, and not about what it will be when you are gone, when you're no longer present. So the shift is to begin working and living as one who is dying. Business leaders, managers, entrepreneurs, how would your business begin to operate if you were all of a sudden, in the blink of an eye, gone? Would it collapse? If so, I don't say this combatively, but humbly. If so, your business is too much about you and you being present, and not about what it will be when you're gone and no longer present. So the shift is to now begin living and working as one who is dying. Fathers, mothers, parents, guardians, aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters, mentors. How would all those that your lives touch begin to function if you were all of a sudden gone? Would those lives collapse? Would they feel lost? If so, I don't say this combatively, but humbly. If so, it's too much about you and not about other people and what their condition will be when you're gone. So the shift is to begin living and loving in our relationships as one who is dying. Take any label that we use in this life that makes us feel important, special, unique, and one of a kind. And ask yourself, am I living as if I am going to die? Am I living as if I am temporary? Or does it all just revolve around me? Does it all end when I end? Or does it go on? Because there are, wherever you are in this life, with all of its labels, there are people watching you and following you, learning from you, being impacted by the behaviors of your life. So teach them the things that will last, the things that will build them to build into others, to build a future. Live in such a way that they will be able to, as Jesus told his disciples, do even greater works after you are gone. Don't let it end with you. Will your name be known by doing that? Maybe, maybe not. But that's not the point of your life. The point of your life is how well you do things that pave the way for others. And if each generation does that well, then we can look back at all of those who have come before us and say, we did this together. None of us could have done, nor can we do, nor will we be able to do this alone. Think on that as you go about your work today. Think on that deeply. You're going to die. You are temporary. What are you building for the sake of others that are to come? Amen.
everyone, my name is Linda. Welcome to CIB Just for Kids. Today we're going to talk about how Jesus met a woman in Samaria in a small town called Sychar. When he was walking after a long day, he was so tired. The woman came to draw water from a well, and Jesus asked her for a water. And she was asking him, "Sir, you have nothing to draw the water from." And Jesus said, "If you know who is asking water, you wouldn't answer that way." And Jesus said, "I can give you a water that is everlasting, so you never have to come back here." He was talking about the living water. That's right. When we accept Jesus, in our heart, God gives us living water. I hope you guys think about every time when you see water, you think about Jesus. How water, just like how water is so important for us, it's also having God in your life is so important. And not only we have God in our life, we share the living water with others. So we have a fun little activity today that's gonna talk about the living water. Whoever believes in me will never be thirsty. So we have this worksheet. You can cut out this, paste it in a little sheet, and you cut the little ladle. All of this is in there, is included, and your finished product should look like this. So you cut out that little like a bowl, and you paste it, and you put a ladle, and you make this a fun activity and put it somewhere where you can see. And remember how just like water is important in your life, so is God and having God in your life. Thank you, everyone.